the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously, nervously rubbing his lip. Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's position. He hurries past the he hurries past the others, running to the other hut. Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joanne. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil. Ara?
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil. Sorry for the clickety clackety. Let's see. Let's go with Michael.
Hey, the smiling worked. Look at that.
It did.
I'm sorry, Caitlin. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up from the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil. Let's see. Who should I pick next? James.
As soon as you said that, Brian ducked down. I thought he was trying to dodge it, but I saw he already went.
Yeah, I was doing that on purpose.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs the notebook and pencil. Let's go Brett.
Yeah, that's All right, how's the game?
I'm just looking at the list. I'm sorry, Caitlin.
How's the gain sounding?
Sounds good.
It's okay?
Yeah.
All right. Having all kinds of problems. My tablet's not charging either. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch, anxious. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his note from nearby. The team stares, turning him. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wire. John grabs a notebook and pencil. Oh, jeez. Michael went already.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Caitlin.
difficult to find people who haven't gone yet.
Caitlin.
In case you didn't hear, that was a really big, deep sigh. Also, Arrow, love the GIF and the fact that it's Matt Smith with my name there. Like,
Yeah.
love that. So,
know.
bow ties are cool. Okay. Can y'all hear me okay, by the way? I've been messing with settings, so I don't know if I'm like
Loud
low
and
or
clear.
anything.
You're coming
Okay,
through
cool
great.
beans.
Sound good.
Okay. Thank you. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spin rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay, so have any of you ever before seen audio description work for
Oh.
voiceover?
Yes. My cousin had it on accident when he was watching South Park, so yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
you mean like seeing what the final product looks like? Yes, but
Yeah.
seeing,
I was
seeing
gonna
how
say-
it written out like this, not at all.
Well, I can't say that
I-
I've seen audio descriptive work.
Heard
Yeah.
it.
I've been considering talking to my agent about seeing if there's any available, but I have not really seen any out in the wild, so to speak.
I know that
Yeah.
this last. Oh yeah, you saw it, Ronnie.
It's always really funny when it
Yeah,
goes like super ham. And it's just like laughs voraciously while like these like really just like.
Sorry, Roddy. What was that?
it was. Yeah, I saw it. Funny enough, in Mortal Kombat, the latest one, they had it.
Okay.
I should watch it.
But yeah. So I know that Sovas actually had like a competition for descriptive work. So I'm not sure exactly what they were going for, or like what ultimately the the prize was going to be, but they did have this available to them. Yeah, I'm not to be honest, I am not entirely sure where to find this style of work and how open it is, but my lovely wife Carissa found this script, and there's no, after looking it over, there's like no way that I couldn't do it. So this is really interesting. You'll notice that there are a lot of descriptors here, like talk over Alan q/q. So there's a bunch of stuff that's in parentheses or in square brackets or things like that. These are the kinds of these are actually like timing and placement marks. So for instance, you would start this very first line up until the first pause after the actors on screen say the lines Q, done, and then you immediately describe what happens next. So you would actually be recording this paired up with some live um, video in front of you, so you could actually see the timing and know specifically when you were supposed to come in and what you were supposed to do. Now, another big component of this that I noticed from what I saw is that you are for people who are vision impaired, as when doing these audio description when you're doing these audio description projects, you are their eyes. So you have to help them see not only specifically what's going on, but also the emotions of the characters in certain ways, shapes, and forms. Meaning that you can use some emotional expression to kind of help paint that scene. So, for instance, this is kind of a tense scene altogether because I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Imitation Game. Spoiler alert for a how old movie now. If you haven't watched it yet, then yeah, I don't know what to tell you. But this is where one of the breakthroughs happen, where they actually get the machine to work and to decode the codes that it was supposed to. So this whole thing is full of tension and discovery and excitement and shock and awe and whatnot. So you are helping somebody who is visually impaired get involved in the scene just as much as anybody who's watching the movie without visual impairment would. So that being said, knowing a little bit more about the background, what kind of microphone technique should be used here? Voice over or voice under?
Over.
Yeah.
Over?
I would
Okay.
say
Over.
voice
Over.
Any different thoughts? Anybody else? Anything? Voice over, voice under?
I mean, if you're being their eyes, like that's pretty prominent for, all senses.
Okay.
Plus, it doesn't seem like you're really going to be talking over anyone since it tells you when the other lines are for the actual characters.
You know what? I'm gonna disagree.
You're gonna disagree?
Number one, to be contrary, and number two, there is other stuff. There are other aspects to a movie than visuals and dialogue. There's sound effects, there's the score. I think that it makes sense to not overwhelm the listener with your your descriptors when they want to also be getting the mood of the score or all of the little interactions of whatever machines are happening in this scene. I think that it makes some sense to do voice under, and especially that will help make a distinct difference between your descriptive narration and the dialogue that's happening in the movie.
Which it's funny that I said voiceover, and then in what I put in chat was a narrator has to find the delicate balance of living within the emotion of the scene without getting in the way or distracting. So there we go.
I'm going to be upfront, but I'm going to describe myself as not being
I'm a
upfront.
walking contradiction constantly.
Well, you are playing second fiddle to these, come on, Christopher, oh my god, what happened, all that stuff.
Yeah.
This genre is 100% voice under.
Yeah.
It is 100% voice under. Reason being is, yes, there is already the characters talking on screen. There's sound effects going on. They're shuffling papers. They're moving around. They're bumping into stuff. They may be out, they may be out on the street. So there's a bunch of people, there's a walla going on in the background. So there's lots of scene building happening all around it. And if you were to approach this as a voiceover performance, then you would be detracting from a lot of that. You would be forcibly putting yourself into this scene with all of these other people. So can you imagine? It's like, come on, Christopher. A row of wheels spins rapidly while the ones below tick at a steady pace.
Oh, you have a good point there. I never thought about it that way.
And I'm here too, also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I should have I should have my name on the cover here, featuring Benedict Cumberbatch and Michael Montes as the audio description. It's like, yeah. So there's quite a bit of stuff already going on, and that is all going to be up front. And don't worry, after the stream, actually after most people do the workouts, I will post where this came from, and it actually shows the session recorded shows the session recording in progress, so you can see as this takes place, and you can see what it's like. But yes, there's 100% voice under. You are not trying to get into the way of the scene. Other than that, yes, there's timing that we would have to watch out for. For instance, you can see some of these 2-second pause, 2 minutes. This is actually timing specific. So you'll probably also see a timer countdown on the video. So where you see like it's say 2 minutes, like right in the middle of the script. For those of you on Twitch, let me go ahead and underline that. Hello. There we go. So it's underlined in red for you over there on Twitch, where it says 2 minutes. That's about the section, the time of the section that you are going to start speaking. So the main thing is you're going to be balancing between what the actors are saying on screen and what's already going on, and the time, as well as your own timing, to make sure that your descriptions fit within the scene as it's going along. Other than that, you don't really need to worry so much about your character as the narrator. You are the eyes of the listener in that sense. So, helping them see and feel the movie is kind of your main goal here. So we're not really going to go into a script breakdown or anything like that. Yes, exactly. Seeing eye voice actor. That's what you are.
Do I get a
Your
vest?
whole life for this. So there's really no reason to get into a breakdown of the character. You are everything else that is missing in the scene. You are all of the visuals. That's your character. You are the movie in that sense. So VO goggles. I wish you guys over there on Twitch could actually see what's going on. Unfortunately, apparently we are I'm not going to say this is a joke, okay? I'm preempting this. This is a joke, but apparently we are being sponsored by Tutu Princess because that's the only thing that's on chat right now. We are not. It is a joke. Please, I said that before and afterwards, but it's just because the chat itself in here.
Besides, I'm
not
pretty
updated.
sure that Princess Tutu is an older anime. I don't expect it would be sponsoring us.
No, it's
Never
not.
heard of
It
it.
is absolutely not.
Sponsored by Sears.
Can we please not do that? We're not sponsored, okay? Let's not start throwing out companies. Unless, no, I'm just kidding.
We're
no,
sponsoring ourselves. We are the
yeah.
business.
DMC is sponsored by TMC. More about that later on in the video.
That's actually very accurate.
It's true. Yeah, it is. Although we do get a lot of emails from cringy, rarely ever heard of mobile games. So, there's that.
And we're not jumping on that?
But before we get into the
And this
let's
economy!
bring you.
All right.
Anyways, so the main thing is this audio is going to take place. Let's see. This is roughly about a minute's worth of audio in general. That's how much this is going to be. Of course, this is somewhat compacted. This is kind of contracted with what's happening on screen, but the main thing, again, the main goal that we're going for here is, can you highlight the most important things happening on screen? Can you kind of see the direction? Can you see what's going on around you? And if so, then can you bring that to life without detracting from what's already there?
I was just about to say that.
What?
Like, with being able to, give the viewer a good visual without over selling it, like trying not to actually be in the scene, but it's hard to explain.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance, and this is an interesting segment of VO, and this is actually one of the first times that I've actually been able to get my hands on one of these scripts, which is kind of exciting. But yeah, I think since we're not really going to be breaking down a script character or like real specifics in here, I would highly encourage you. I would really highly encourage you to focus up quite a bit on your microphone technique. I want to hear you actively hushing, not trying to be the main focus of this, and really allowing us to see what's going on. So I personally am going to be listening for that. I'm going to be listening for you, trying to essentially work around the scene in front of you, and making sure that you can you communicate some of this tension and some of this excitement that's going on in the scene as well. So before we dive into the reads, does anybody have any questions,
Yes.
comments, or anything about the script? Yes, go ahead.
So the very first thing, talk over Alan. Does that mean for like the wheels stop, oh my god, stepping up to the large device, we say the wheels stop, stepping up to the large device? Or should it be wheels stop, pause for him to say oh my god, and then we say stepping up to the large device? Are we actually talking over him?
No, so that happened just so Alan actually speaks. Alan is the one who says Q, done, because he's taking down notes right at that point.
Okay.
So what that is telling you to do is to actually speak before that line is fully completed.
Okay.
So you actually start just as the actor's lines are finishing.
Okay.
That's what talk over means right there.
Gotcha.
But yes, every time that you see some kind of scene direction, which is in square brackets, make sure that you give that time to play out.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not familiar with this portion of the movie. I certainly wasn't. I never watched it. But this is, of course, it's audio descriptive work. So this should give you a reasonable idea of what's going on. And if not, then it's okay to look up clips or something like that of of the movie to kind of prepare yourself specifically for this workout, just because we don't have everything that we need to be like, let's play this particular section. So
cool.
We're working on stuff like that. Anyway, anybody else? Anything else?
You're still a storyteller.
This one's going to be interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You're still a storyteller.
Yep.
Yeah.
I find it interesting the like aspect of you still want to convey tension. I mean, does that mean that you don't necessarily want to have just a really maybe uniform or really just neutral pacing sort of thing? Are you trying to like maybe speed it up a little bit because it's a little bit of this like, oh, it's building up, it's building up. Like, are we trying to like?
Yeah, good question. The thing about that is, these need to take place within a fairly, sorry, excuse me, a fairly confined time range. So what you really need to do is make sure to connect with what's happening, to not be, or to not break from the general emotional tone that is being established. So for instance, faint, come on, Christopher, that's somebody who's talking to themselves because they're intensely figuring things out. We know that this section happens when a massive discovery happens. So it would be really, really weird for the listener to hear, come on, Christopher, a row of wheels spins rapidly while the ones below take it a steady
Okay.
pace.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, don't be disconnected from what's going on. So we wait 2 minutes after Alan mumbles. No, that's timing. That's when that's at the 2-minute mark of this particular clip is when you start. But yeah, that's
You,
what I
you
mean.
just, yeah, you just keep seeing the person look at the time thing. He's like, okay. It's just like,
So it's kind of like dubbing.
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah. It's in a
Little bit.
sense dubbing.
Dubbing between the lines.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You're dubbing video instead of audio.
All right.
Omniscient dubbing.
All right.
Ooh, mind
Any other
blown.
questions? Anything else before we dive in? Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and start this party off with Alex this time. Sorry, Caitlin.
It's not going to stop.
Everybody just apologize to Caitlin every time, each person.
Sorry, Caitlin.
I'm not sorry, Caitlin. You know that was intentional.
I'm so sorry. Had to. All right.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and a pencil.
Okay. So, minor thing, you added an A at the very end.
Yes, I did.
John grabs a notebook and pencil. Other than that, though, what did you guys think?
For me, again, I know this is a delicate balance, and I myself have not executed something like this, but I feel like, bear with me here, I feel like there could be a little bit more verb in the verbs, like with like like nervously rubbing his lip, or grabs his notes, because I felt like you were hushed. That was good. It wasn't overpowering or anything, but I feel like there could have been a little bit more action inserted into some of the lines. Like stepping up to the large device instead of just kind of really measured stepping up to the large device. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Give certain words more emphasis to bring more action into the narration.
Yeah, to help build, I guess, some more of the tension and everything,
Yeah,
right?
you
That's
would you would
happening.
you would mention something like this, Brian. What did you call it? Like action words or
It's called color words. So basically,
color
whatever
words?
whatever
Yeah.
word is described like happy, you're happy. If you're sad, you're sad. Just describing those words with intention.
The intention is still there. You're just that your emotional range doesn't go from 1 to 10; it goes to 1 to 4.
Okay, sure. So I need to bring my emotions to 10. I got you.
Also,
Lots of emotion.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I noted, everything was down note.
Okay, I can vary that up.
Yep.
And Roddy, what were you saying?
a bit more of a pause for the brackets to happen for the character dialogue and the pauses in between. 'Cause
Okay.
It seemed like you just ran straight through.
Okay,
most of
I
it.
was counting to 2 for the 2-second pauses, but I
Oh,
did
wait, you
slip
were?
up on actually going through the dialogue for a couple of them, so I could see how I ran through those.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else? Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. the wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil. Did I bring enough color to it?
I think
I think
so.
yeah, I think like there's this sort of switch I felt of like you leaned in a little bit more when you were getting up to like the stepping up to the large device.
All right.
Yeah.
I think you did a really good job taking the directions.
Yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
sensed an improvement.
Cool. Thank you.
The thing is like now that now that I'm listening to this back again, this is very audiobook. Like this is really drawing on audiobook.
Yeah.
This is essentially voice under audiobook.
Now
Question
whenever I
for
oh, go ahead.
question for you, Alex.
Yeah.
So have you ever played a game called Alan Wake?
No.
Okay, so if you have the chance, look up on YouTube of Alan Wake, and there's some transcripts that's narrated in his own, and this I'm getting a same vibe when you're reading this.
Okay.
So I would I would if you have the chance.
Sure. Bit of
listen to
research there.
Yeah, because I think if you apply to what the narrator is talking in this one, I think I think you'll pop it really right there.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll do that after this.
Mhm.
I guess we're going to the next one. So Cassidy.
All right. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
I was unmuted that whole time. Wonderful. Thoughts?
I was very much engaged.
Yeah, I think the level with which you were delivering the lines was really good. For the voice under portion of it, I really liked whenever where is it, the wheels stop, like that was like whoa, like that was really well done. I feel like some of the lines did get a little samey as far as inflection and tone. So as the tension is building, try to do that. Starting off at a regular level, cool. But as they're going and like the wheels stop, just like that line, that was like a good turning point. The wheels stop, and it should get a little more intense after that. I feel like because again, this big discovery has just happened, right? So just turn up the intensity a little bit after that for me.
Yeah.
The name,
Yeah,
it's the same note I was gonna say is it feels like the wheels stop is the point where the energy, that's not the word we use here. The the
tension
shift. There's a shift in the scene at that point.
All right.
That's the point where, oh, this just got real.
Yeah,
It was
the
starting to get real.
tension.
Now it's gotten real. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, just like that. Exactly like that.
What?
People who
Anybody
aren't
else?
watching chat just miss out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot of there was a lot of down notes on everything, so vary that up a little bit. For me, I think maybe dial down the intensity from a 5 to a 4 or something. People are welcome to disagree with me on that.
It might help to give a contrast towards the end if you're going to get up to the max towards that middle. Like, I don't know, maybe it makes sense. Then it'll feel more intentional.
All right.
I definitely agree. So whenever you're ready, from the top.
Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. Thoughts?
My big issue is that all the lines were delivered the same way.
Anybody else agree? Disagree?
Agree. It was
I agree.
samey. I think it's a good starting point. Just gotta change it up.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to deliver it, just don't deliver all of them the same way.
All right.
How's your throat feeling? Because I know you recently recovered from being sick.
Well, it still feels a little like it doesn't hurt, but it feels a little weird.
Mm-hmm. Feels a little scratchy, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you think you can give us one more read, or because
Uh,
I would if you're feeling that way, I would rather you rest your voice.
I can do one more.
Okay. So go ahead, give us one more read.
All right. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. And how did you guys think? How did you guys feel about that one?
I'm gonna have to agree with Arrow. Your pauses are definitely perfectly timed. Seems very well put together. You did great.
Yeah, that read felt like it had a lot more intention to it. Like you really wanted to involve the listener in the scene. I really liked what you did with it.
And you know, in a weird way, I feel like since my throat was still feeling a little off, like I was more intentional about like the voice under and like doing that sort of lower tone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's hopefully you can learn that control outside of being sick. I would really hate for you
Yeah.
to have this is a good time to learn it, but yeah, really want you to recover fully and apply that in other places. I may have to find more of these so that people can actually like, I'm gonna hammer in the actual technique this time for you. But yeah, no, in general, I liked it. It was much more engaging this time around. Your pauses were really, really well timed. Yeah, fantastic.
But yeah, trust me when I say that I am doing much better than I was.
Good. Glad to hear it. Still, though, we want you at 100%, not just 99.
All right.
All right. Moving right along to Amanda.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spin rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay, opening it up. What did you all think?
I noticed real quick, and I don't know if it's me, but we keep saying the wheels stop or the wheel stops. I'm not sure which one I'm hearing, and my dyslexic brain is getting confused.
Multiple wheels.
Okay.
So wheels stop.
For me, it felt a little rushed. I'd like to. My direction for a next read would be to tell a story to somebody, like a 12-year-old or whatever, but make it sound like you're telling a story, like you have an audience there in mind.
I feel like there's like a right place to slow things down and like kind of things. Is like, for instance, I think a line like "Alan stares with an intense expression" is something that's like very descriptive. Like you can, if you slow it down, then it sounds like you're staring with them because you're like giving it this like space. But then
Yeah,
I think when you do like the wheel stop or whatever, then it makes sense to be more tight with it. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to give it like a slightly rushed feel, but I feel like I should slow it down a bit because I'm
Right,
trying to be into this person.
Yeah, be much more in control of this because the thing is the rushed feel. It it should be used only in specific situations. So let's see, where would we use that?
The wheels stop. He hurries
No,
past the others.
he hurries
Running to
past
the other
others
hut.
and running to the other hut.
Yep. Yep.
So like those two lines really are the only lines that should have any kind of a hurried feel to them. The rest of them should be controlled and tense. Because again, this is a breakthrough
Yeah.
scene.
I don't know if it's just me, but I can actually see like you just like running the last 3 sentences like back to back to back because it's like, oh my god, he's doing this and this guy's doing this and this guy's doing that. And it's like maybe you can like do that maybe.
Well, I mean, generally, if this was just like you delivering it as an audiobook, sure. But since this is, timed to something specific happening on screen, no. These must be split up. These must be 3 separate things because you need to give time for everything else that's happening.
That's true. Yeah.
So, why don't you go ahead and take it again from the top?
Oh, okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly. While the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears in the Enigma machine. Peter brings a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. I still feel like that last sentence was just a little too fast.
Okay.
I think the start of the read in general started pretty quick.
It did. It did.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, you can take a little bit more time again towards the very beginning. If you really want certain parts of it to sound rushed, then you need to slow down
Have
your
the
pace for
contrast.
everything else.
Yeah.
So that there needs to be enough contrast because it still felt relatively rushed, not as rushed as the previous read, but it still felt relatively rushed. Again, I would like you to be interested in what's happening on screen as well. Like this is a really cool breakthrough moment. So he turns 3 knobs and the letter wheels on the device start to spin.
Okay.
You need to paint the scene because again, you are the eyes of your listener. Like you are their connection with what's happening in front of them.
Oh, okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears in the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I feel like it's almost there. That's just there was some flubs there, obviously, but you did a really good job. Does it still feel like you're rushing a little bit when you're?
Yeah, I do, and I can sense
Okay,
it,
so
especially since I'm tripping over my
that's
own
totally
words.
fine. So here's a teaching tool, and if you want to try, I've done this a lot. If I ever read too fast, this is what my teacher told me: read like a 5-year-old, or what was the other one? Read like what's the Star Trek guy's name? Anyways,
One.
anyways,
William
yeah,
Shatner?
yeah, read like William Shatner. That is a really weird method
The
of.
no wheels in the knob turn intensely.
So, so what he told me was, in order for me to slow down and just process what you're reading, use your finger and just read along the like read with your finger, like how you read with a 5-year-old, that kind of thing. And I find it helping out a little bit with on how to, slow down your pacing a little bit and just to take your time because obviously sometimes whenever you're reading so fast, you're not really thinking about it. You just want to read it and get it over with. So, um, try using the finger method and slow down a little bit.
Okay.
Overall, it feels choppy to me. It doesn't feel like there's a flow to the story. And my direction would be to visualize a person that you're telling a story to.
Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is the exact same cadence on a lot of your sentences. Da-na na 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 na. He turns 3 knobs and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. And because
Okay.
you're sticking with that same tone each and every line, it's adding to that feeling of being rushed, of being choppy. It's because you're not giving yourself enough differentiation to actually give your listener something to compare and contrast against.
Oh, okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. Better, you're still moving very, very quickly through it. So I don't know if are you feeling a little nervous right now?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay. So one of the things that I would highly suggest for the future is when you are going to, or when you do receive some direction and you do need to make some changes, to just take a deep breath and take some time before jumping right into the scene, because it adds a lot of psychological pressure to just kind of jump right into it, and I need to get this done and I need to get this done right now. It's okay. Take your time.
Okay, I'll
Thankfully,
take my time right now.
this is thankfully this is the place to make these kinds of mistakes, which is okay.
Okay. Okay.
So nobody's judging you for it. It's just that you need to take a breath. You need to slow it down. Okay, I need to get into the scene. Let's get this thought out and go. That's the way that it should
Okay.
work. So you need to take some time to process a little bit, because if you jump
Okay.
right in, then you're trying to apply the direction on the fly.
Oh, okay. You want me to try this one more time?
Um,
I am
yeah,
trying
since
so
we didn't,
hard. I'm trying so hard not to apologize right now.
well, there's nothing to apologize for, so don't apologize. Um, yeah, you know what? One more time, take it easy, take it slow. Thankfully, I think we got plenty of time for this particular script.
Read it like you're reading to Cindy Lou Who.
Okay, I'll try that approach. Okay, just give me a minute. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Better.
Major improvement.
Yes, much better. In the future, just be really, really intentional with taking your time. It's totally okay.
I'm trying to take my time. I'm trying to take my time.
And that's okay. Look, here, this is each time you join us for a workout, this is the time to practice that. So,
I'm going to take my time. I'm going to take my time with every single word. Alan rushes to the nearby door. He takes a look. His innocence. Now hold on. He turns 3 knobs. The letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop you right here. You started off really strong, and now you're starting to pick back up in speed. So this would be something that I think you should practice by recording yourself and taking a listen to your own timing.
Okay. I'm
So-
so glad you heard her improvement so far.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
still feeling, yeah.
No, there was definitely an improvement. It definitely was. And the thing is your strongest improvement did happen with your last read. But the more, again, there's this weird thing that I've noticed with people, that the more you practice a single script over and over and over again, the harder it's going to be to get much out of it after a little while. So I think you gave us your strongest read this last time, and this started off really well with a deep control of your timing and your pacing. But I'm going to challenge you to do this. Take this script and record yourself reading it and just slow it down. And I want you to listen to it. I want you to really listen to your pace and try to see if you notice when you start picking up. The reason I want you to listen to that is because that will generally happen when you start feeling like ready to move on to the next part of the script, when you're really rushing by. It really takes a lot of focus and attention to give this script a full performance from top to bottom. So this is definitely going to be one that's gonna
This is incredibly hard. I have to admit it. It's so hard.
It is subtle, for sure.
Yeah, I do want to add that the last full read you did, it sounded like you were telling a story.
Yes.
Whereas the earlier ones, each line was disconnected from the rest. So that was the main improvement I was looking for, and you delivered it. So good job.
Thank you. That makes me feel better.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move this right along over to Roddy. Rising from the depths comes Roddy.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheel on the device starts to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously biting his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spin rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large machine, Alan takes his notes. Stepping up to the large machine, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears of the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay, opening it up. What did you guys think?
There's
I
a
felt like-
couple. There's a couple technicality things like the wrong word here and there. I think it was like stepping up to the large instead of machine. It's device. That's the only one I remember, but there was a couple of those. So just you've been
Yeah.
through the script now, so now you know.
Right.
I feel like again it was pretty even killed. Maybe a little too subdued. Maybe even a little too, like, the pace might have been a little too slow for me that to match the scene. Obviously, like, we've been kind of going back and forth about rushing through things and selecting which lines needs to feel rushed and all of that, but it felt a little too even keeled. So maybe let's try to put a little more variation in the pacing and like emotionality of some of the lines.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I felt like you had the opposite problem of Amanda with the pacing. You were just slightly too slow. And then you still have that same thing Amanda has with the cadence. Like your words, they sound the same. But I think that's going to be a common problem with a lot of us when doing something like this. So, yeah.
Who are you talking to?
My 10-year-old niece.
Okay, good.
While we're in the car.
All right, so you're talking to your 10-year-old niece while you're in the car. What, like, how are you approaching this specifically? Like, you're talking to her. Why? What did you bring that up?
Because she likes adventure stories. Also, the even keel might have had something to do with her mom being asleep in the front.
Roddy, your scene creation is second to none. The details that you add in, wow.
Yeah.
Everybody's awake in the car, and she's really engrossed in your story.
Okay.
All right? Because here's the thing. I actually really liked what you did for the most part. This is minor detail adjustment right now. So be really intentional with where you put your emphases and what you're talking about. I want you to paint these scenes for your niece. I want you to, when things get tense and they start moving, and things start moving more rapidly, I want you to bring up the pace. When things are slowing down and when this is really super suspenseful or surprising, I want you to go ahead and play with that a little bit.
Okay.
So
play with emotions more. Don't be afraid to speed things up a little bit.
Yeah.
And everyone's awake. So
everyone's awake.
Slightly out.
Use color words.
All right. Gotta make sure it stays voice on here though. Well, like, thank you. Blee. He turns three knobs, and the letters. He turns three knobs, and the letter wheels on the device starts to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously biting his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spin rapidly, while the ones below tick by. A row of wheels spin rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with intense emotion. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large machine. He turns three knobs, and the letter wheels on the device starts to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously biting his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spin rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He rushes past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil. Let's go.
The wheels stop hit so perfectly.
They hit different.
It did.
It
It hit so good.
Yeah, I have several technical notes here.
Fucking hell.
First,
Okay.
every one of your reads, you said that he nervously
biting his
his lip, and it's
rubbing.
nervously rubbing. And also, you've always done where is it? A row of wheels spin rapidly. It spins. It's one row. A row spins. And it's confusing because you'd think that wheels spin, but it's a row spins. And other technical note that isn't directly script alteration. Especially towards the end, I feel like you emphasize the names a little too much. Like Peter brings over paper, Alan rearranges wires, John grabs notebook, and the emphasis should be more on what they're doing.
Right.
Like John grabs a notebook, Alan rearranges.
Also, Roddy, I've been noticing this with your most recent workouts here. Don't take these so personally. The directions that you're being given, you really seem to take them personally. Look, for the most part, everything else that you did was fantastic. It was a really, really solid read. It was a very solid take, and it had some interesting expression that I don't know if other people could really pull off. That's the thing. We're trying to correct just the very, very, very small things that need to be corrected. So, nervously rubbing his lip. A row of wheels spins rapidly. A row of wheels spins rapidly, right? It's just these tiny little technical things that, look, yes, they're frustrating, and they do need to be fixed. But for several of these workouts that you have been here for, I know you're trying to get these like down pat and perfect. But the thing is you're doing a good job as it is. These are minor changes, and you really shouldn't be taking these very personally. So I want you to actively look at these directions that you're getting as something that's going to make your next read even better. We're working collaboratively together. We're not tearing you apart for making a mistake. This is, hey, your next read is going to be even better because if you do this, 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 and this, you're good.
If I sound picky with you, it's because you're that good.
Okay.
That's okay. If Leonard sounds picky with you, it's because he's Leonard.
Right.
He's always got.
I forgot. It's been so long.
Thing that I love having Leonard around for is there's always notes. It's a good thing. So here's the deal.
I bet.
Nervously rubbing his lip. Make sure to pay attention to that.
Rubbing.
A row of wheels spins rapidly. A row of wheels.
A row of wheels spins rapidly.
Yes. Peter brings over a piece of paper. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil. You're describing these actions that are going on.
Not the names.
Not the names, they're actions. From the top.
You got this.
He turns three. I was about to say wheels. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device starts to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while on a row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gear on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. So, I could tell you were anticipating the changes, because some of the stuff leading up to it did
It was
it did suffer a little bit because of it.
yeah.
But the thing is you incorporated the changes really well.
Mhm.
Just and again, this is we're giving you these really really minor things to correct because these are the things that are sticking out. The rest of it's really good. Um,
Right.
You're hitting letter wheels at the very very beginning a little too hard, in my opinion.
Too hard.
He turns 3 knobs and the letter wheels on the device starts to spin. You're talking about the actions there.
Mhm.
Um, let's see, where else was it? Second to last paragraph, running to the other, or second to last line. Alan turns the gears. You singularized it. You said turns the gear, so turns the gears on the Enigma machine.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that you changed your emphasis over to the actual actions. You can bring that emphasis down just slightly. Peter brings over a
Right.
piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil. So you can even those out a little bit more. So now you shifted the focus over properly. Now we just need to bring that down so it all flows smoothly. Smooths flowly. Wow, I almost had that brain fart. Anyway, opening it up. Does anybody else have anything?
I think you
Okay.
covered it.
Okay. So one more time from the top, whenever you're ready.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device starts to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the machine. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes on the wheels. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machines. Alan rearranges the machine wires. John grabs a notebook and paper. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Retake just the last 3 sentences. Oh, right. Retake just the last 3 sentences, if you would, please.
Thank you. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
All right. Roddy, I want you to listen closely when I say this, okay? You did it. You did it. That was it. That covered absolutely everything. That was the read. Now, I still will
Really
open it up
close.
in case. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, really close to perfect. The only thing I'd watch out for, and I wouldn't make you redo it for it, but there's still a couple spots where you either singularized plural things or pluralized singular things. Like you had the wheels on the device starts to spin, and it's
Yeah.
there were a couple of those. But overall, really good job.
Yeah. I'm happy with it, and I'm really good with moving along because I genuinely feel that was a very solid read. All right. Up
Very
next,
good job, Roddy.
Betty.
All right. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. Thoughts?
One thing that I will say, and maybe my brain just has a delay, but just be mindful of the pauses that are written in the direction. To me, it felt like there wasn't a noticeable pause. Obviously, you don't want a cliffhanger for too long, but try to incorporate a bit more of a noticeable pause where it's called for, especially when it's like a specific time frame kind of thing.
I wanted to note, I was going to comment on the added pause in the takes notes of the wheel's position sentence, but then you corrected it yourself, so kudos for doing that.
Yeah.
Overall, I felt it was a really solid read. The one note that I'd have, and it's one that applies to most people who have read so far, and not just to you, is on the line, Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. I'd like that one to be a little more quiet and mumbly. So you don't go, Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. It's more like, Alan mumbles to himself as he watches.
Okay, let's try that. Sure.
Whenever you're ready, from the top.
All right. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
So while for this read, in general, I really liked what you were doing, something weird happened. You started losing the volume control as it went along. So you steadily got more and more, like you steadily got slightly louder and louder and more prominent. So you had some
Okay.
good volume control at the very beginning, but as you started like getting more into just the performance part of it, it became louder and louder, and you started inserting yourself into the scene a little bit more with that style of performance.
Okay.
So that happened particularly sharply after the wheels stop,
Yep.
because you gave that some nice, you gave that a nice little flair, just like what Roddy did. But right after that, it started with stepping up to the large device. Alan takes notes of the wheels positions, and it became more of a again in scene narration versus voice under narration.
Okay.
So that would be
All
my
right.
one big note is at that point. In fact, why don't you just take it from stepping up to the large device through to the end and just make sure to try to keep that volume control down. You don't want to get above like 70% speaking volume.
Okay. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. This time I can tell you we're a lot more focused on your volume control versus the performance. Volume control good, but you lost the connection that you had with it along the way. So, I would say now that you have more of the muscle memory for having that lower volume control, if you could give me just that last line with a little bit more interest in the scene, I'm happy with what I've heard.
Yeah, I think I'd like to take it from the top just to get into it.
Okay, well, if that's
Kinda
the case,
messing me
does
up.
anybody else have anything they'd like to say about the performance? Anything they noticed, notes, anything like that?
I think it's pretty good.
Okay. Well, yeah, then go ahead and take it from the top. Make sure that you don't lose your volume control after the wheels stop, and maintain that interest that you have all the way through whenever you're ready.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the turning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to a large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. Before I say anything, I'm going to open it up. What do you guys think? Okay.
Kudos.
Okay.
Yeah, you done good. I liked it this time. Good. Good stuff.
Nice.
I like the pacing.
Let's
and,
go.
it was really good.
Yeah. Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah. You got to again after getting more of the volume control muscle memory, you went back into the emotional expression. It hit it exactly what I was looking for.
All right. Let's go.
Barry, I got to challenge you more. You're making this seem a little too easy.
All right. Acting.
Yeah. You're an actor. Yes, acting indeed. Okay. Well, if nobody has anything else to say, we'll move it right along to, is it Missa or Misa?
Missa.
Missa.
My real name is Melissa. I just go by Missa sometimes.
Oh, no problem. All right, Missa, whenever you're ready, let's hear it.
All right. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. Opening it up. What did you guys think?
My only note is that you're coming in a little hot. Turn down your gain a little.
Okay.
But the performance I felt was good.
One of my
Cool.
only
But I still would like I'd still like to hear it again without the distraction of coming in a little hot.
Okay.
one of my only notes is, and someone argue with me if they want to, but I feel like this, like after the wheels stop, that stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels positions. I feel like obviously we're not hamming it up here, but I feel like that deserves a little more something, even if it's a subtle something, because that's when, I mean, the wheels stop, but the wheels start turning. You know what I mean, in the scene. So I feel like that needs a little more tension, a little more excitement. Doesn't necessarily mean, a rushed delivery or anything, but see how you can play with that, with the Alan takes notes of the wheels positions, like something's happening, something big. Okay.
I will also say that you fell into the cadence trap again. I'm noticing it's a trend. So just be mindful of that. Try to change it up just slightly. It's slight variations, emphasis on certain verbs or action words, color words, as I've heard before. So otherwise, good job.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. One more time from the top, whenever you're ready.
All right. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. Are you positioned directly in front of your microphone?
I am.
Okay.
I hear a lot of plosives.
Yeah, there's a lot of plosives coming through because of it.
Okay, yes. I do not have a pop filter on this particular mic either.
You're
have
fine.
you tried off-angling it?
Yeah, go in 45 degree, and that should help with produce the plosives.
Okay.
Actually, is your mic looking like this, or does it look like up here? Like, sorry.
It is on. Hang on, I have to look at you. It is on my desk in front of me.
So this is how it's positioned right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you put it in a 45 degree angle and you do your plosives, you will reduce your plosives a lot. Another.
Line too.
Yeah, that too. There's another one for some people if they're interested. If you go upside down and you just put it in your up to your forehead, it reduces the plosives as well. So another thing that I learned. So
I will record my forehead then.
Sure, that works.
There.
Wow, it's got so much to say.
I know. It's so just out there. So the thing is, I like your performance and I like what you're doing with this so far. It's just I'm not hearing much of the volume control. It still sounds like you're talking at full, in full voice. So
Okay.
I want you to bring this down to like just above a whisper, where it's just barely talking.
Okay.
Let's go there. Let's see what it does to your read, and if we need to adjust you back up, we will.
Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. You didn't quite go to as quiet as I was hoping you would, but it was an improvement on the overall tone. It wasn't quite as
Okay.
prominent and upfront.
Okay.
Also, no plosives. You sounded really
Yay!
good. At that, I'll handle. I was really happy with that read. I'm gonna open it up though. What did you guys think?
No plosives.
I'm good with it.
Oh,
Oh,
you
and
sounded
the
almost
gain is at a
disappointed.
good level too.
No
Yes, the game.
plosives.
Dang it, no plosives.
No
God dang
plosives.
it.
Game's at a good level. It's perfect now. But yeah, no, the performance itself was really good. I like the variation that you gave it. One thing is, and this is just a general note too. One thing that you should never be afraid of when it comes to even like audiobook work is some sentences or some sections being in monotone. Don't be afraid of that, because that's a tool just as much as any other contrast is a tool. So sometimes certain things do require you to be more monotone and maybe emphasize just slightly this or that, or only use a word extension or compression for your emphases.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, monotony, monotony. It has a bad term now. A lot of people think, oh, great, monotony. But being monotone is, again, it's perfectly valid. It's totally fine. In fact, my coach Nancy Wolfson has an entire chapter on using a monotone delivery. Like she focuses quite a bit of effort on that. So it is a technique that you should not be afraid to use in the future. But anyway, fantastic delivery this time around, and I'm really happy to say we can move on.
Cool. Thank you.
To Brian.
Also
Okay.
noted.
Okay, here we go. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. The row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick. While the ones below tick at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay, opening it up. What did you guys think of that one? Yeah, except for you, Brian. You don't
Yeah,
get
I
to
know.
comment on it.
I know.
Similar note, as has been given to many of us, myself included, the cadence did start to fall into a rhythm.
Yes, I'm still working on it.
One thing that I noted, try to throw away all the names as much as possible. Because by the time we
Okay.
come to this segment, we've probably heard their names 100 times already.
Okay.
And you highlight it the first time you see it, and after that you throw it away. So and the same goes for like the team stares at the churning mechanism. Have it the team stares. So highlight the stairs and not the team.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
But
when I. Oh, go ahead.
But overall, really good job.
Let those verbs verb. See,
Right.
the thing is like when you emphasize things, it has to be intentional. You have to have a reason for doing it. So this is why, like, this is going to be very audiobook esque. You need to. You're describing a scene, and you're describing the way that like the tension and the feelings of the characters in the scene itself as well. He turns three knobs, and the letter wheels of the device start to spin. That's just a fact. That is that there's no like major emotion happening there. Hugh and John watch anxiously. That's when you actually can have some intentional highlighting because they're watching anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Again, don't be afraid to use some monotone in this for the things that are just fact. Let's see what that does. Okay, if it's not an emotional section, try delivering it with just monotone. Just get through it. Again, you're
Okay.
painting a scene, but you want to really highlight the emotions that somebody's supposed to be feeling and perceiving from these characters.
Okay. So the first read I did, was it not too monotone? I'm just trying to figure out the range for
No,
that.
it wasn't. So it wasn't bad. It's just what you did is you settled into a particular cadence. So your
Okay.
sentences started blending together because you were using the
Yeah.
exact same cadence. Again,
Okay.
not really. It's not really horrid, but it's definitely something to note because it starts blending everything together.
Okay. I'm gonna not be afraid of monotone.
Don't be afraid of monotone. It is your friend.
I'm scared. I'm just kidding. Okay, 1 second
From the
here.
top, let's hear it.
Okay. All right, here we go. He turns three knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick at the steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay, opening it up. What did you guys think?
I'm trying
Otherwise,
to be mindful. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I'm trying to be mindful of the cadence because that's something I'm really working on. So if you guys catch that, let me.
I think otherwise it's great, but you need to throw away Alan.
Am I
You
still
always
doing that?
Yeah, it's Alan stares. Alan takes notes. Alan turns the gears. Alan
Okay.
rearranges. So throw away Alan.
Okay. No more Alan.
Take Alan down a notch.
Okay. Sounds
He's had
good.
it too good for too long.
Okay. That's good to know. Anything else? Okay.
Volume control. I want you to bring that down a little bit.
Hi. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. He turns three knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously.
Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spin rapidly while the ones below tick at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. Joan grabs a notebook and pencil.
If the chat wasn't distracting enough.
Sorry.
Much better overall this time, in my opinion.
Okay.
I'm going to
Okay.
open it up, though. What did you guys think? We literally caught like the last bit of the sound that you made. Whatever it was that you said, we didn't really catch the majority of it. Arrow.
This is because I'm laughing too hard. Come back to me.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Take a deep breath. But what did you all think? Opening it up. Come on. Come on.
I was gonna say, I noticed that I feel like you're too focused on getting your mouth around the words.
Yeah.
That's causing you to stumble a lot. And I feel like that's also causing you to rush on those parts, if that makes sense. So.
So we're enunciating a little too much?
Yes.
Yeah, and saying it too fast. So enunciating really, really fast, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would agree. I would say don't worry about getting the words right. If you mess up a word, you can go back and you can do it again. This isn't a you have one chance and one chance only to do it. So trust that you can get the words.
Okay, sounds good.
Throwing away Alan is hard.
Yeah. No more Alan.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
It's just being mindful for that and just yeah, for sure.
Why don't you go ahead and take it just from stepping up to the large device through to the end?
Stepping up, which line is that?
So it's a little under halfway
Middle.
down, stepping up to the large device.
Okay, slow down. No Alan. Cadence, no cadence. Okay. All right. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes to Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. Joan grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. How was that? Better? Worse? About the same?
Because you did it both of the last two reads, it's John grabs a notebook and pencil, but I wouldn't have you go back and redo it.
Oh.
Overall, I think you're pretty close to there.
Okay. Question for you guys. What's a good teaching tool for, just being mindful of the whole cadence and just the whole repetitiveness in the read, if that makes any sense?
One tip that I saw in some YouTube video was to use a pen or pencil or pointer and just have it follow where your voice goes. So when your voice goes up, the pen goes up. When your voice goes down, the pen goes down. And that really helps you realize what you're doing.
Like, just pointing it at the words, or just
No. Just actually just when
Like
you
a
want to go up, you
conductor.
go up, and when you want to go down, you go down. So you just use it as like a measure where you are.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So it makes you much more conscious of if you're like ending everything on a down note, for example.
Okay.
I have to
This
give
is
that a try.
gonna sound weird. Sorry, I interrupted you. But making little songs or little tunes out of the script. I don't know how to explain it other than it changes the way that the cadence moves when it's a song as a verse as opposed to when it's something you're saying. It actually makes you more mindful, I think. This is what helps me. It was a technique I learned by a theater person as well. So um you can try it that way. You don't have to sing it out loud. You can just sing it in your head, but you'll notice the cadence difference when you do it in little bitty. So
I'm more of a visual person, so can you describe it in a way like how
like okay, so if I was doing this script, I would be like, he turns three knobs and the letter wheels. And you see how it changes when I'm just doing a little song. Um, it changes the cadence a little bit. So, because you got to be mindful of like how it flows in a song. I don't know. That's what helps me. It may not help you.
No, that's totally
So,
fine. I appreciate your thoughts and you too, Leonard. Because I told Michael about this, but I'm just trying to figure out the avoiding like singy songy and all that stuff because I've been working on a project for stuff, so that's the thing.
Another thing to try would be to read it like you're reading to like a 5-year-old. Just somebody who's really, really young, and that you need to make sure that they understand specifically what it is you're talking about and what it is you're saying. That's going to give you a very extreme set of um, emphases all over the place. So he turns 3 knobs and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. So you can even like act out some of what you're seeing and point it out and see it. That's going to give you, that's going to push you very far forward because, again, if you're talking to somebody who's really, really young, it's going to sound a bit pedantic, but you're trying to get them to see what's going on.
Okay.
So that takes you to the extreme. And then when you work that backwards, you can start settling in on something that's a little bit more oriented towards your audience.
Okay, I'll have to give that a try. So, thank you guys.
No problem. All right, moving it right along. Leonard, you are up.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the turning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay, opening it up. What did you guys think?
I think it was a pretty solid delivery, but one thing that I noticed in particular was the Alan mumbles to himself as he watches, and what was it? Alan stares with an intense expression. To me, I felt like those were almost delivered identically, like with the tone, like Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. Alan stares with an intense expression. I felt like that was almost, identical. So if we can vary that up a little bit, that would be good. For me.
Anybody else?
yeah, I would also comment on those same lines. When you say them like that, I don't know, maybe it's just me. You sound kind of angry instead of like you're mumbling. But that's just me.
Like, oh, Alan. Ugh, Alan.
Okay.
Alan has had a lot of attention. Like, it just gonna.
Clearly, the narrator has a bias against a certain character. The other like one of the slight little notes that I've got is the team stares at the churning mechanism. You kind of spat out stares almost like it was like I don't know, something negative. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Like, how dare you waste your time
Okay.
staring at this thing? The team stares at the churning mechanism. You know, it's just fact.
Okay.
Thing is in general, I actually think the bottom half of the script is fine, and I don't really feel like you'd need to retake it because wrapping up the whole thing sounded good. That sounded solid. So, and it seems like everything that you would need to fix is just in the top half. So, read to the wheels stop.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop.
Okay. And how was that one?
I am pleased.
Me too.
Okay. They still felt relatively similar to me from the get go. You said Alan the exact same way both times. Thing is though, is I don't really have a good direction to try to fix or change that. So, and I think that's such a minor thing in the grand scheme of all of this that I really don't think I would have you redo it. But I just want to let you know that it gave me the impression that you were going to read both the sentences the exact same way because of how it started. But other than that, I'm good with it. And it looks like everybody else agrees, so I guess we're moving it right along here over to Arrow.
Ooh.
Oh, what just happened here? There we are. Sorry. Go ahead
okay.
whenever you're ready.
All right. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the turning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
So you're falling into the same cadence with each sentence. Each one of them is the same exact cadence.
It came for you too.
It's hitting everybody. So okay, I thought that this script was going to be a little bit simpler, but you know what? I can't do simple scripts apparently. Which is good actually. Again, if you're not getting challenged while you're working out here, you're not getting anything out of it. So the other thing is your tone is you attack strong from the beginning of the sentence and then it trails off. He turns 3 knobs and the ladder wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs it. It's that same strong attack at the beginning and then it dies down.
Okay.
I want you to be interested in what's going on around you. So maybe you're sitting behind somebody. Maybe they're sitting on a couch and they're trying to watch whatever's going on, and you're sitting behind them and you're like, okay, he turns 3 knobs and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. So you're letting them in on what's going on, right? Like they are actively listening to you and engaged with what it is you're saying.
Okay, that makes sense.
Does anybody else have anything?
A possible equipment note. It sounded like you have some kind of noise gate that eats like the first syllable of each line. So it was like he turns 3 knobs, and
I'm gonna try to turn my gain down a little bit and see if that helps. I don't know if that's better audio or not.
I did hear a little bit of a plosive in some parts. Maybe try to angle it a little bit as well.
Okay. All right, 1 second. Turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches.
I'm gonna stop you right
A
there.
row of
Because you are doing the exact same cadence again.
Oh, no.
You're hitting the exact same thing, except now you're reading it slightly slower.
read it to a 5-year-old.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Why don't we do that? Read down to a row of wheels spins rapidly while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Read down to that sentence, but read it like you're reading it to a 5-year-old. Like they need to know what's going on.
Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Is that where you want me to stop? Sorry, I forgot.
Yes, that is where I wanted you to stop. Okay. So do you feel how you're kind of naturally giving certain things more emphasis when you do that?
I do.
Like a child needs to follow along with what it is you're saying. So he turns 3 knobs and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Right? Like that's the interesting part. Hugh and John watch anxiously, nervously rubbing his lip. Alan grabs his notes from nearby because you just talked about Hugh and John. Now you're talking about Alan. And then all of them together, the team stares at the churning mechanism. So now they're all really engaged. So that kind of idea of just bringing that particular style of read way out there, getting your emphases way out there, and then pulling it back, I think is really going to help you here. So why don't you go ahead and just give me a read down to the same spot below, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace, that's where it's going to end. Except now instead of being as expressive, you're going to be a little bit less expressive. Does that make sense?
Does.
Okay.
Read to a 10-year-old instead of a 5-year-old.
Yeah, yeah. We're now aging up who you're talking to.
Okay. Turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace.
Okay, good. I like how you brought that down a little bit more. Now we're really going to age it up. You're talking to somebody of your age.
Okay.
So you're describing what happened here, but it's somebody who's your age.
Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the turning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly while the ones below tick by at a steady pace.
Okay, I'm going to open it up. What did you guys think of that?
Same as me, there was some emphasis on Alan on some parts.
Yeah. Like Alan mumbles. I'm finding it distracting that whatever your software setup is, it's still eating the beginning of each line. Like he turns 3 knobs, you and John nervously rubbing his lip. So I'm not going to comment on that further. Just be aware that you have that going on.
And it might be a Discord thing too. I don't know. Have you
I
recorded? and
don't
does it
think
sound...
it's Discord because it's not happening on anyone else.
Well, Discord reacts funky with everybody's stuff. I know other
Okay.
people whose microphones will start cutting in and out after spending a certain amount of time on Discord. It really is kind of random. Arrow, have you recorded yourself? And does your microphone pick up everything when you do the recording?
It does, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a
Okay.
Discord thing. It's probably a noise gate issue. But yeah, that being said, I would like for you to pull off of the emphasis on mumble, or not mumble, excuse me, on Alan every time it pops up,
Okay.
and more on
Okay.
everything else that's going on. Alan grabs his notes from nearby. Alan mumbles to himself
Okay.
as he watches. So you're just directing the listener's attention to Alan doing something. It's not just Alan; it's Alan doing something.
I see what you're saying. You just want me to do the 2 Alan lines?
No, again, from the top to steady pace.
Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly while the ones below tick by at a steady pace.
Okay. I like the expressiveness on this one more, and I like your shift in emphasis. If you could just bring the volume down, you'll be right there. Again, this is a voice underperformance, so it needs to be a bit quieter. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. So this is going to be you working on actively hushing your read.
Okay. You want me to do it again?
Absolutely, and this will be the last take before we move on.
Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly while the ones below tick by at a steady pace.
Yeah, better. I think you could bring it down just a little bit more, but generally, I thought it was really solid. I'm going to open it up. What did you guys think? Feedback for Arrow.
No, really good job. I think this is just my point of view, my view. The team stares at the churning mechanism. So I was maybe just kind of like, like this is just my imagery of this, but if the team is staring at it, I would be like, the team stares at a churning mechanism. You know, just because it's a mechanism that's really that people don't know about, and it's really curious that people are viewing that one, but. Other than that, the read has the pace is really good, and yeah, did a really good job.
All right. If nobody else has
If
anything to say.
if you were to do it again, I would say throw away Hugh and John in addition to Alan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind.
Minor little changes, but a lot of improvement from your first read. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
really good job.
Thank you.
All right. Moving along. It's me. Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
It almost seemed a little. Maybe it's just because I'm not familiar with this form of voiceover, right? A whole bunch, so I don't know how it's usually. But it almost seemed a little too hushed, like a little
Too hushed?
too voice underish for me. And again,
Okay.
maybe that
Okay.
is the point, but it definitely seemed very cloak and dagger. Like I don't know, and it upped
Okay.
the direness maybe too much. I don't know. Just my 2 cents.
Okay.
Yeah, if I had to listen to a movie's worth of this, it would put me to sleep.
I feel like maybe notch it up a little bit
Okay.
on that one. Yeah, and I do see Caitlin and Leonard's view on that one. Yeah, notch it up a bit, and I think we have it.
Okay.
And you two fell into the cadence trap. We keep doing it.
Oh, really? I did?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. Joan grabs a notebook and pencil.
Who grabbed that notebook and pencil?
John grabs a notebook and pencil.
You better give
Okay.
John his due.
Okay, I will give John his due. John his due.
I will say, and this is super nitpicky, but Peter, don't ask me to explain it any further than what my explanation is. But whenever you say Peter, it almost sounds like there's a question in there, the way that starts off, it sounds like that sentence is about to turn into a question. I don't know how to explain that, but maybe Peter's just getting too much attention. So now throw away Peter. Throw him away.
Is that the last Peter in
That's
the bottom
last
there?
one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's still a touch on the sleepy side, but
Still a
only
touch on
a
the
Yeah.
touch.
sleepy side?
It was
Okay.
an improvement.
Yeah. Boost it up a little bit more.
Boost mobile, baby.
Boost it up even more. All right, baby. We'll do this from the top. And this time I'll try to make it not sound like a question at the end.
Yeah, I was gonna say, use the same advice you gave me, like you're talking to a 5-year-old.
Okay. All right. turns 3 knobs and the letter on the and the letter wheels on the device. The letter wheels on the device. He turns 3 knobs and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
You hit my notes. There was no question about Peter. Peter was just there, they existed, and they gave someone a piece of paper, so that was excellent.
Good, Peter was just a dude. Still
I
too
think
sleepy? Did that fix that?
No, you did a good job. I think you did change it up, at least from my perspective. The only nitpick I have, and it's very minor, but I think you could hit the pauses or the beats just slightly better, but that's just me.
Okay.
I think the engagement level was good, so no more sleepiness. My only thing would be slow it down by 10%.
Okay.
But I wouldn't make you retake it for that. We got plenty of people.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have a couple more people to get through. Speaking of getting through some more people. Oh, sorry, what was that? What's up?
This is just my point of view. This is just my view. Maybe notch it up a little bit more, but other than that, the last read you did was really good. The read that you gave me was, like I said to Alex, very Alan Wake kind of vibe I'm getting from it. So, have you seen it actually, or
I
seen?
know of it, but I haven't
Okay.
played it or watched clips or anything like that.
Okay, yeah. If you have the chance, like I said to Alex, have the chance to, type in Alan Wake transcripts, and then I forgot the voice actor's name, but he makes a really good narration kind of voice and has that little voice under kind of vibe from when I'm listening to you. So
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. But again, once we are done with this, I will share the link to where this came from so you can see it in action. Anyway, up next is James.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously biting his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay. I really liked your engagement with this. It's a tad too quick.
Okay.
yeah, I was gonna say that too. I would say maybe 5-10% slower. Because when I was closing my eyes listening to you, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of catching up. But yeah.
Okay.
I will say I don't know if a lot of other people have done it, but he hurries past the others running to the other hut. Like I liked how you hit that just because again this is a kind of moment, and even though we can't be like I like the fact that you accentuated running to the other hut. Like you brought a sense of urgency without going wild with it. So
The
kudos.
verb was verbin. Sweet.
We be verbing here. We be verbing. Give it to us again, a little slower. and
Okay.
We'll be there.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches.
I'm gonna stop you right here because your speed is continuously increasing.
Oh,
You're getting
okay.
faster and faster
Yeah.
and faster. So you really need to be very conscious about controlling
Okay.
your pace.
Okay. How did it start? Did it start good, or do I still need to slow down from the get-go?
It started fine, but
Okay.
very quickly your speed started ramping up.
Okay. It felt extremely slow, and I didn't want it to feel like I was slogging through, but okay. So it needs to feel slow to me, so you guys
Absolutely
are good with
needs
it.
to feel
Okay.
slow to you.
Okay, okay.
All right, whenever you're ready.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan grabs the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
So much better on the pacing. Couple of things to note. Gives was a little bit swallowed. At least to me, that's what I heard. Down at the very end. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. You kind of swallow
Okay.
gives.
Okay.
And the other thing is, while from an aesthetics point of view, he hurries past the others, running to the other hut, like running right into that. From an aesthetics point of view, sounds good, but for the actual application for this voiceover, it wouldn't work. You
Okay.
would definitely need to take the time to make sure that what your cue happens. Again, the cue is that line. Did it work, Alan? When you hear that line, that's when you can start saying running to the other hut.
Gotcha.
So it's not just again aesthetics. If this was a standalone recording, perfectly fine as is. But because
So
of
just
the
space that
usage,
out a little more.
it needs to be spaced. Yep.
Okay.
There were
So-
a couple spots where you changed the verbiage. Like you had Alan grabs the gears on the Enigma machine,
Okay.
and that would need a retake.
Right.
But other than that, I was pretty happy with what you did.
Okay.
There on the third line, the team stares at the churning mechanisms. There was a little bit emphasis on like the team stares. So
Okay.
so if I would switch that. Put stares as like the verb you want to use for that.
Sure.
So
One more time from the top, or
One more time, put it
Okay.
all together.
Okay.
more time.
He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheel's positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Ship it, print it,
Yep.
flawless.
The third line that I mentioned before, it actually worked with the inflection that you gave. So I had no complaint on that one.
He's good.
He's good.
I really
He's very,
enjoyed
very
the
good.
way you. I enjoyed the way you highlighted the churning mechanism.
Yeah.
Thank
that's a
you.
good one.
Yeah. No, some solid choices there. Fantastic delivery. And let us finally get to who has been waiting this whole time.
Sorry,
Usually goes
Caitlin.
first.
Serves me right. Serves me right. You know, I was gonna be kind to let Alex go first anyway, but you know, he just quick to the draw. You know.
He just stole it right out from under you.
Whatever. Foiled. It's okay. No worries.
Shotgun.
From the top.
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
exactly. I was the younger kid, so like the game of shotgun was, yeah, you know, I had to be quick. All right. He turns 3 knobs, and the letter wheels on the device start to spin. Hugh and John watch anxiously. Nervously rubbing his lip, Alan grabs his notes from nearby. The team stares at the churning mechanism. Alan mumbles to himself as he watches. A row of wheels spins rapidly, while the ones below tick by at a steady pace. Alan stares with an intense expression. The wheels stop. Stepping up to the large device, Alan takes notes of the wheels' positions. He hurries past the others. Running to the other hut, Alan turns the gears on the Enigma machine. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
And you see, this is the benefit of going last. You got to listen to all the feedback, everything that everybody did, and apply it to yourself. Yeah, no, honestly, and I'm not just saying this because we're almost an hour over what we normally do.
I was about to say,
Um,
to sleep
no,
under the rug.
it's not just because, and I'll do this all night if I have to. But honestly, I actually thought that was right off the bat, just gut feeling wise, a really solid read.
Well, thank you.
Like you hit basically everything that I was looking for: speed, pace, engagement with what's going on, all of that. Really, really solid. Really, really solid.
Oh, shucks. What else? Anyone else? Bring it. Ding, ding, ding.
No, I was really close to perfect. If you want one little thing,
okay,
then you had Alan rearranges the machine's wires.
You know
hit
what?
Alan a little hard there.
I made a face after. Noted. Got it.
Thank you. That's the proper behavior. Thank you. Okay, retake the last line. Retake the last line.
Okay. Okay. Dang it. Hold on. Okay. Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
One more time, please.
Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Okay.
P.
Yeah, you still kind of, well, you still sort of hit Alan a little bit there as well.
Okay.
If
for
we're being
reals-
really nitpicky on that,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
we're
yeah,
being
yeah.
really nitpicky on it.
Yeah. Okay. For realsies, unless if
The
anyone else
last one,
needs-
though. No. The last line, though, you smoothed it all out. That's the thing. The last take, sorry,
Oh,
you
I
smoothed
see.
the whole thing out. So
Okay. Got
yeah,
it.
that's why I had you do the retake. You
Okay.
emphasized that a little too much on that first one, but the second one,
Alan rearranges the machine's wires.
Peter brings over a piece of paper and gives
Peter?
it to Joan. Alan rearranges the machine's wires. John grabs a notebook and pencil.
Yeah, we were going for a very Matt Berry, silly, kind of take
And
there.
after stream, we got to do an overly dramatic read on this.
Hyper dramatic read.
Bring
Well,
out the
speaking
Shakespearean
of
people.
after stream, that's where we are now. We're at the after stream. So, hey, thank you all so much who is here. Thank you very much to those of you who are supporting us on Coffee. You really do keep the lights on and keep cool things happening here. You know where all the buttons are. You also know where to join us if you want to be here for future ones. And we will see you on the next one. And I might be using the PlayStation controller for that one too. We'll just see what happens. I don't know. Apparently, it's a good microphone. Bye.